Well, hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights podcast. I am your host, Mov'n Mike. We're here to discuss entrepreneurship and the financial strategies to guide you to your goals and dreams. Simply put, we provide insight to get your mind and your money right. This is episode number 18, season 2, Death and the Decisions. Now, these decisions, they can protect you or they can destroy your family's legacy. Let's jump right into the show. I got my trusty show notes here. And I just want you to think about this just for a brief second. If someone were to pass away tonight, what would your family do first thing tomorrow morning? Who would you call? Would you know where the documents are? Do you know who the beneficiaries would be? Who would be handling all of the decisions that we're going to be discussing? Who would take the lead? Who would be support? The grief and the tragedy is enough. But as I know far too well and too personal, who's going to make the decisions? Would you be able to hold the grief off until you took care of the business of your loved one? Do you know where the bills are? Do you know how they would get paid? These questions come to mind. Like, it's unbelievable how you have to walk through these decisions after the death of a loved one. So, death doesn't create a financial problem. Death exposes them. So that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. So I hope you got your pens and your paper out. I need you to take these notes, these jewels, put them in your jewel box so that when the time does arrive, you'll have them, something to rely on, something to grab hold of, something to say, hey, you know what? Mov'n Mike, he did talk about this, and I've taken down some notes, and I can step through this process while still grieving. All right, so here we go. This is the emotional cost that no one talks about when someone dies. First of all, it's the shock. It's always, well, most times it's always unexpected. Most of the time, why now? How could this happen? They were so young, or they were in good health. They were eating right, walking, going to the gym, and how could this just happen? We all know someone or have someone personally that we've experienced this with. So, how do we deal with the grief? How do we deal with the depression, the anxiety, the family tension? And I think what's worse, just as bad as the grief, is the decision fatigue while in the grief. It's overwhelming, to say the least. See, people are forced to make life-changing decisions while emotionally exhausted. I know this, I've seen it, I've shared it. And that's why I thought it'd be so important to talk about it tonight. See, so there's some common mistakes that I'm going to discuss here that that happens. And actually earlier today we were discussing. I was sitting with some family members and around a celebratory situation, but we were talking about life, and we were talking about some of the mistakes that take place in these decisions and in these discussions around this circumstance in this of death and making decisions, right? Um, the feuding, who's responsible for what, who hasn't stepped up, who will step up, who's stepping up too much, who's doing too much, who's not doing enough, who's looking for the handouts, right? So these conversations should be had. That falls back to the 6 pillars of the legacy framework, being in alignment. Okay, not only in your own house but with amongst your family members and your siblings, right? So some common mistakes, just going to touch on a few here. Selling assets too quickly. um, Depending on the financial situation, it might be appropriate, but what do you need to sell in order to be financially prepared and whole? Spending life insurance proceeds recklessly, right? So those proceeds come in if they're fortunate enough and financially wise enough to have set themselves up with a life insurance policy, and now have those proceeds come in to a responsible individual, and then not having a plan, right? Not having a strategy, and just spending that money in such a way that it may not serve the need of the decedent, or not just take care of responsibility wholly. So these are questions and scenarios that are common mistakes. Making emotional financial decisions that can happen in life and in after death. So it doesn't matter where you are, depending on who you are and how you handle money. More money doesn't make you more financially responsible. It's knowledge of money that makes you financially smarter and making financial good decisions, right? Families fight over property. We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, right? Um, but the legacy lesson here is to have to be in alignment and have these conversations, because grief clouds judgment, and preparation creates clarity. So you got to be in alignment, and then you have to prepare so that when these situations arise, there's a strategy in place and people know um, what their responsibilities are and what their duties are, so that they can execute those things and those wishes and those roles appropriately for the decedent and the family, and what's best for the final event, if you will. So let's talk about the financial reality after death. These are the immediate financial challenges that most families will go through: mortgage, rent, utilities, car payment, credit card debt, medical bills, and funeral expenses. Do you know where these documents are? Do you know how and where to address these issues? Because that's what your loved one would want you to do in their absence, to get their affairs in order, right? So who's that designee in your family? Who's that subordinate that will assist the designee in executing? Get those people together, have that conversation. Okay, it's not going to be a straightforward conversation. It might be sideways, it might be a little tense, it may be a little difficult, right? No one likes to talk about death in the decisions, but let's be a little bit emotionally mature about it. Even Jesus Christ didn't get out alive. I mean, he was born again, but I don't know about anyone else. Okay, so we're talking about this so that we're prepared. So let's keep this going. The average funeral cost nationwide can easily reach thousands of dollars. We're talking between $9 and $15,000 for a funeral. So what's included there? So many families discovered they were only one paycheck away from financial disaster. And that's before death sets up in the picture. So if there was not a death that took place, if there was a car accident and you totaled out your car, you're one paycheck. Most families are one paycheck away from that disaster. Do you have your emergency fund? Okay, not some money set aside, but a true emergency fund. Okay, there's a difference between money set aside and emergency fund. And what's the difference? Money set aside is just money that you've haphazardly put away. An emergency fund is a specific amount that will cover you over a period of time, allocated to certain responsibilities that you have so that you can carry forward. Okay, so there's the true difference right there between money set aside and emergency fund. Make sure you have at least 12 to 18 months of emergency fund. And if you can do more than that, please do. Okay, the point of this discussion, a financial emergency becomes a family's emergency when no plan exists. Straightforward. Okay, so let's talk about the legacy framework and how it actually will help you. Okay, pillar number one, learn. Knowledge creates confidence. Questions every family should know. Where's the will? Is there a life insurance policies? Who are the beneficiaries? Where are the account passwords stored? And what debts exist? Now, we talked about the debts in the last segment: mortgage, rent, car payments, credit card. We talk about those types of things, right? But you need to know not only what they are, but how to access those as the designated person to take care of the decedent's responsibilities. Okay, so action step: create a legacy information binder. Okay, that is something simple as an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook, simply written out if you're not computer literate. Please, a simple notepad binder. You pick them up at any of 5 and below, right? You want to spiral notebooks, we can flip those pages and they don't come out. Okay, you want to be able to have the insurance policies, where they're at, accounts listed and the account numbers and passwords, emergency contacts, estate documents if you have those, and password instructions. Okay? There should be a lockbox somewhere with all this information in it. And only a selected few should have access to that box. If it could be a fireproof lockbox, that would be great. If you could put it in the bank deposit box, that'd be even better. Okay, there you go. Or a post office box. You know, when the lockbox at the post office, someplace secure that when something were to happen to you, someone would know where to go get that information and be able to take care of your last wishes. Okay, so second pillar: elevate. Income doesn't die with preparation. So we're going to discuss why multiple streams of income is important. Okay, so when you have multiple streams of income, that helps you to prepare better because, see, you have one income taking care of your baseline, the additional lines of income or your savings, investments, of those types of things in nature, where it can help to grow and strengthen your legacy, right? So when you have those two, it makes it possible for the people taking care of you to easily follow through on your wishes because they know that the bills have been paid for. They don't have to really worry about taking care of that because maybe the bills and all those other liabilities are on auto pay, right? So that one stream of income is taking care of that, right? I've got a lot of things, a lot of my bills on auto pay, right? So my money is allocated. Every dollar should have a destination. I talk about that in previous episodes, right? So those on auto pay, I don't even have to worry about late fees, right? Don't get caught with late fees, right? That's just giving money away to these institutions. It's bad enough they sometimes they hit you with monthly service charge just because you don't even have an account balance, but you're paying a monthly fee just for having access to their service. I think it's robbery, but it's the system that we have to play in. Okay, those additional streams of income, again, like I said, are your savings, your investments, your growth strategies. That money there will actually be able to go toward your beneficiaries or help to pay for your final expenses. If even with the life insurance, it can have even a grander going home party, right? As they would, they say a life party, right? Um, so so you want to have multiple streams of income, so that would help. You make sure that we talked about the investments, retirement accounts, and survivor benefits. So that's those multiple streams of income, really right there, working under that into that second pillar of elevate, right? So these families that have built assets recover faster than families relying on a single paycheck. So that just goes without even saying, right? If you're financially situated, financially responsible, emotionally mature, and you've set yourself up, there's less to do financially. There's more time for the family to grieve and to actually heal from the loss, because they're not worried about the financial stress, them having to give you the decedent a sending home service, and not so much, okay, I've got to get money together to send them home appropriately and pay my household bills as well, right? So if you're set up and you're secure, then your loved ones don't have to worry so much. They don't have to go do a GoFundMe and where's the money coming from, and oh my God, how long does he have to sit at the morgue or the funeral home waiting for enough money to come in to take care of you? I've seen it well too often. Well too often. So you got to build this financial resilience before tragedy occurs. So, pillar number 3, guard. Protection is love in action. Man, I couldn't have said that any better. Pillar 3, guard. Protection is love in action. You can ask anybody, do you love your family? And they'll say, yes, oh, I love my family. I love my children. So, do you have life insurance? Oh, no, I don't believe in that. To me, and to a lot of other people, that doesn't sound like you really care, because if something happens to the human ATM machine that we are, how do you continue to love your family, your children? God forbid if something happened to you and you're taken away, how do you keep them whole? You're not working anymore. The the money that you were making is no longer being made, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck, how much more can you love them if you're no longer here and you're no longer providing for them financially? So life insurance is not a religion. You don't have to believe in it. You just have to use it for what it's created for. Protection and love, right? So here we go. It's a tool. It's an emergency fund, just like a will, just like trusts, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives. It's a tool. Just like any tool that you buy to fix your shed, mow your lawn, cut your hair, a razor when you shave is a tool, whether it be your face or your legs. It's a tool. You had to buy it. And you have to keep buying it, because what? You're going to have a hairy face unless you grow a beard. And even then, you got to trim it and make it look good. And for the ladies, you're shaving your legs and in your underarms, right? If you don't do that, you don't buy that tool, you'll be just as hairy as me. You don't want that, right? You don't want hairy legs like me, right? So that's what we need to do. We have to buy these tools, use these tools appropriately. That's where financial intelligence comes into play. See, financial IQ, as I say, is no longer relevant. So what? You're financially literate. How financially intelligent are you? What financial strategies and tools are you applying to your unique situation and getting benefit from? That's the intelligence. So what you know? So what you're financially literate? Okay. As far as I'm concerned, if you're financially literate and you're not putting it to work, you're financially illiterate because you're not using it. You're not putting it to use. So let's keep this thing moving. All right. So many people say, I love my family, and I've talked about this. So why haven't you protected them? Love without preparation leaves confusion. Love with preparation leaves clarity and security. So that in itself is just what it is. When you say you love yourself, you don't disrespect yourself. You know, a lot of people say that. Oh, I love this person. I love that person. I love myself. But then if you don't respect yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, how much do you really love yourself? And even in your health, if you really love yourself, why are you going in for that extra heaping of macaroni and cheese, or that extra bite of a second scoop of ice cream, third slice of cake? Right? It's to each his own. And I'm not telling people, what's right or what's wrong. What I'm saying is, if you love yourself, and it depends on where you're at, you can define that by any means. How you eat, how do you get your rest, right? Do you drink too much? Do you do drugs all the time? Right, like you talk about you love yourself. Do you share those messages with your children? Do you prepare them for the world that they're growing up in? That's showing them love and giving them love, right? So we can go all the way down this rabbit hole about like the message of love and security, right? I'm just trying to give you some ideas and some examples of what that looks like. Okay, so here we go. Pillar number 4: alignment. you know Family conversations matter. And I talked about this early on in the segment about knowing who's going to take care of what. Okay. Families avoid discussing death. Why? Because it feels uncomfortable. Simply put, who wants to talk about it? Nobody wants to talk about dying. Um, in our last episode, episode 17, um, I shared the the episode when someone you love dies, and I discussed our family's tragedy of our youngest son, Devin, passing away suddenly at 23 years old, having a asthma attack, going into cardiac arrest, and not making it through. Being a donor, one life, many blessings. So I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this bittersweet topic. It compels me to bring this information to you. So if you're not in alignment and having family conversations that truly matter, you got to ask yourself again, do you really love your family? Because they are difficult conversations. So if you avoid them, it creates bigger problems. Topics family should focus on, just discuss: final wishes, future plans, funeral preferences, estate plans, guardianship of children. And I could talk about that as well. Having to take in children of family members who are, falling on hard times, who have had rough patches in their lives. I'm uniquely qualified to discuss these topics, hence the Legacy Insights podcast. Go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, tap in with me so we can have these discussions so that you're better prepared. Take these notes, write them down, drop these jewels in your jewel box so that one day when you need them, you can refer to them. You should be talking about long-term care planning. Today's medical science says that the average person will live well into their 80s. Are you preparing today to live into your 80s? I want everybody within the sound of my voice to live past 80, right? That the 80 is like the new 60. Right? They said that the new 20 is the 30 or something like that, and the new 40 is the 30, and you know what I'm saying? Everybody's trying to trade down. That's a good thing. The advances in medical science and health, right? Preventative health measures. Hey, guys, go to the doctors. Young ladies, get those exams, right? It's about living, right? I'll love you to life. That's what I'm talking about, right? So here we go. Look at that long-term care planning and concerns. There's some great products and services out there. Go back to my previous episode in season 1, the 20 benefits to an Index Universal Life Policy, the IUL. Look for that in season 1. 20 benefits to the IUL. That will definitely help you out with your long-term care planning, your chronic, and terminal illness. Okay, and long-term care health pay. Okay, and cash accumulation as well. Right. So it's about your health and growing your money. Right. So tap in with me. Okay. So here we go. The conversation may be uncomfortable today. The consequence of avoiding it can last generations. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's some people you wonder how did they get to where they are, right? Like, you know, they must have a business. They was born into money. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people are beneficiaries of lifelong legacy planning. There's no luck. A lot of luck is not involved in people being wealthy. It's planning, it's strategizing, it's setting themselves up. You know, I know that I am setting up a legacy and planting a tree that I know I will never sit in the shade of. But it's the benefit of knowing that my family will be covered by the shade of that tree. That's what we're supposed to do. Don't hate on the people who are living their legacies and living out their family's legacies. Join them. Start building in your own. Right? That's what, listen, I'm telling you, this is what it's about. I really pray and hope that I do what I set out to do, right? Because I would love my picture to be up on a mantelpiece someday and say, you know what? Great Pop Lewis started building this for us. And we're grateful for him today. Listen, there is no better legacy than that. I hope you're hearing me. Let's go. Pillar number 5, change, break the cycle. Hey, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it right now. Many listeners grew up hearing, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Everything will work itself out. Oh, really? Hope is not a financial strategy. Okay? Hoping and wishing has never been a financial strategy. Okay? It's never been a plan. We'll figure it out. It might work to a certain degree, but nah, it's not going to get you to the top of the mountain. Right? That's not a strategy. That's hope. And I just said that. Hoping is not a strategy, not a financial one. Right? Change means planning intentionally, preparing documents, reviewing beneficiaries, having difficult conversations. Change means getting in alignment your thoughts, your heart, your thoughts, your words, and then your actions with a plan and a strategy. Right? So the plan is this: A, B, C, and D. Okay? The strategy is if I can't get all of A done, I'm going to go to B and C, and then once I get that, I'll fall back to A, and then if I got it, once I get A right, I can jump back to make sure B and C are still in the line, and then get to D. Right? There's got to be a plan, A, B, C, and D, but the strategy is no matter what, I'm going to get these things done, whether I have to move it around, shift it around. and continue until, right? They say, Mike, well, what are you doing this for? And how long are you going to be doing it? Until what? Until I get it. Until it's done, right? And then I'm gonna have to do it again, right? It's beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm just getting started. So check it out. Breaking the cycle. Many viewers grew up hearing, "You'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. It'll work itself out." That's hope. Change means planning, preparing, reviewing, and having difficult conversations. Legacy builders don't leave important things to chance. You got to take this thing by the horns, plan it out, put it into motion, and commit to it. It needs focus. It needs focus. And I'm telling you, right? If you don't focus, you're going to have drift. And believe me, I'm not the best at this, but I stay focused. I get back, right? So when I find myself drifting, you know what? I hit that, I bring it back, I bring it back in. Right? There's nothing wrong with drifting. There's nothing wrong with missing a couple of days at the gym, as long as you go back. There's nothing wrong with, right, like having a plan, but know you got a strategy, so that when you get out of sequence, the strategy says to you, hey, this is what you need to do to get back in the gear and back in the game. Okay, so here we go. The last pillar number 6, you. Your legacy starts today. Ask yourself, what happens if you're not here tomorrow? What would your family struggle with the most? What unfinished financial tasks remain? What conversations still need to happen? This is not about fear. It's not about fear. Okay? This is about responsibility, and the people you love deserve clarity. See, love is an action word. And people throw it around haphazardly. You love your man, love your sis. But can you call them when you get a knock on the door late at night? Can you count on them when the phone rings 4 a.m.? Can they count on you at the same time? We're talking about love here. Okay, let's do it. Let's keep this thing moving. So let's go down this legacy checklist, because we need to be ready. This is a legacy readiness checklist. I need you to ask yourself some really core messages, and I need you to score yourself with this. Have you reviewed your life insurance recently? Take it out, know what you have. Don't think about it like, oh yeah. No, you need to know. All right, literacy is not enough anymore. I told you, knowing is not enough. You got to be certain, right? Whenever I start saying things like I think, oh no, that's my opinion, right? I can't just keep saying, well, I think this is what really. That's my business. That's my personal life that I'm talking about. I think I know what I have. No, you need to know, be certain, absolutely, positively certain that you know. Okay? Have you reviewed your life insurance? Do you know who your beneficiaries? Check it out. They might need to change. See, because who you knew then may not be who you know now, because of life, time, and distance. Review your beneficiaries. Make sure that your emergency fund is established. I told you, money set aside is not an emergency fund. Money with a purpose and an amount is an emergency fund. Okay? Are your wills completed? Trust reviewed if appropriate. Family informed. Important documents organized. Passwords access plan created. If something happens, do you have passwords to that person's personal information. Do you have someone that you can trust enough to do that? Okay, they may not be your so-called best friend, right? Because that's, that's your buddy, that's your but can you trust them with your life and your belongings, right? And to handle that personal information, right? And your last rites. It might be someone out of state, a family member out of state that you need to reach out to, right? I don't know, but I would definitely do some serious soul searching, because at any point, at any time, things could change. So here we go. Healthcare directives completed. Know who's going to be your proxies. Who's going to be there for you, right? Legacy conversations being held. Talk to these people. Get it out in the open, right? Get that will out there. Get that document written out, a handwritten document of people who are going to do what they're going to do. Have them sign that document, get it notarized, and it becomes a legally binding document, so that only those individuals have your blessings to handle your business. It's just that simple. You can go down to I have my seal. I'm sorry. I have my seal where I can do the whole process itself, right? But you can also go over to what's the store? UPS store. They'll do it for you there. Okay, they'll do the seal for you there. Okay, it'll only cost you a couple of dollars, and you need a couple of witnesses. Okay, and there you go. So my core message to you tonight: death is not something we can control. Preparation is. The greatest gift you can leave your family isn't just money. It's clarity, it's peace, it's protection, it's a plan. Wow, I got to read this again. The greatest gift you can leave your family isn't just money. It's clarity, peace, protection, and a plan. Because when someone you love dies, the last thing your family should inherit it is confusion. The last thing they should inherit from you is confusion. They should inherit a legacy. So here it is, people. My legacy call to action. This week, locate all your important documents. Review your beneficiaries. Schedule one family legacy conversation. Get an alignment, people. Get an alignment. Create that generational change. Create a simple legacy binder. It's a notebook. Or if someone in your family is literate and has a computer, an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, it'll capture everything. It'll calculate things for you. It's a really great tool. Okay, don't hesitate on this stuff. Take one action you'll be putting off. Take one action you've been putting off and get it right. Don't wait for a tragedy to force a conversation. Start building your legacy today. Don't wait. It's nothing like time. Get your mind and your money right. Insight, impact, legacy. And with that, I want to say it's been my pleasure and my privilege to have brought you this show and spent time with me today. You could have been anywhere else, but you decided to spend it with me tonight. I'm Mov'n Mike. This is the Legacy Insights Podcast on YouTube. Have a good night.